The first update we have today is on Brittany Cartwright's experience on Special Forces, the world's toughest test. So, you probably heard Brittany Cartwright quit the Fox Challenge show Special Forces super early, like on day one during the premiere. She's been talking about just how tough it was both physically and emotionally, and yeah, her estranged husband Jax Taylor definitely played a part in the whole thing. Brittany actually thought, dealing with, as she puts it, toxic things and abuse in her past, kind of pointing to her relationship with Jax, would maybe give her an edge dealing with the screaming drill instructors and all that intensity. But it actually had the opposite effect. Instead of toughening her up, hearing things like, "You're weak," just triggered her. She said it made her think, yeah, I know I am, because of everything else going on emotionally. And get this, when she told Jax she quit, she says he just kind of laughed. That really didn't sit well with her, and she kind of threw down the gauntlet, saying she'd love to see him try the show, since he apparently talks about wanting to do it. She made it clear the show was no joke, very raw, terrifying, just relentless challenges one after another, no breaks. She felt like she was shaking the whole time, holding her team back and just couldn't contribute. Plus, she was missing her little boy Cruz. But hey, even with the early exit, she did score a personal win. She tackled her huge fear of heights and jumped out of that helicopter. She said she's proud she even tried, especially since people doubted her. And apparently her new guy, Brandon Hansen, was super supportive. Interestingly, Brittany admitted that even though Special Forces was physically brutal, filming the Valley reunion was actually much harder emotionally because, well, that's her real, everyday life playing out. She did tease, though, that she's in a better place now and has grown so much looking ahead to Season 3. Before we get into the next update, I need to check in with you all. If you're enjoying our little tea session, take a millisecond to hit the like button and subscribe to join the best reality TV community on YouTube. Done? Let's move on to next update now.
Okay, next we're going to talk about the recent drama surrounding that Real Housewives of Orange County faux car robbery challenge, where Heather Dubrow really questioned Shannon Beador's reaction to what looked like a pretty terrifying ordeal. So picture this. The RHOC cast, they are doing this tactical class that Gretchen Rossi set up, and it included this really challenging scenario, basically reacting to a potential car robbery. Well, Shannon Beador, she had this super intense reaction. She talked about it on the RHOC after show later, saying she was just so terrified she couldn't sleep, she felt almost frozen, and genuinely thought we were dead. She mentioned getting a bit suspicious when she noticed the driver left the windows down at this industrial building they were at, but then when the supposed robber came right up to her face, holding a bag and a beer, she said her heart was literally racing. She felt like all the blood was leaving her body, thinking she was going to pass out. But here's where the drama kicks in. Heather Dubrow totally contradicted Shannon's story during that same after show. She actually interrupted Shannon, recounting all this, and just flat out said, "I call bullshit. You knew," basically accusing her of acting. Interestingly, though, Heather did admit that, hey, if that robbery had been real, she wouldn't have known how to handle it rationally either. She even added, "Thank God it wasn't me." So this was today's update about the ongoing conflict between Heather Dubrow and Shannon Beador on RHOC. Let's now move on to the next update.
Next, we are going to talk about that really dramatic sneak peek of the Real Housewives of Potomac Season 10 premiere. It really illuminates the emotional fallout around Karen Huger's recent incarceration, focusing on her release and how the cast reacted right away. So the whole thing centers on Karen's DUI conviction from last December. That was after she crashed into a median and a couple signs like 9 months before that. She got sentenced back in February, ended up serving 6 months. Okay, so the preview, it kicks off right with her prison release. You see paparazzi calling her name as she gets into an SUV. And she asks, pretty raw moment, "Do we have tissues in here?" You can kind of hear her breath shaking as the car pulls away. Then it flashes back 6 months earlier, just 2 days after her sentencing, to a get-together at Giselle Bryant's place. Giselle clarifies in a confessional, look, she doesn't want Karen in jail, but she says accountability is needed so there isn't a 5th DUI. She adds she just really wants her Karen back. Then you see her talking with Ashley Darby, and Giselle's kind of processing the shock of Karen waking up in Gen Pop. She sounds pretty anxious, asking, "Is this like with murderers?" Ashley and Giselle then, they share this moment, kind of joking they wish Karen could be put in an elderly section, or as Ashley called it, the AARP of the jail. When Wendy Osifo, Stacey Rush, and Kierna Stewart show up, Wendy expresses concern, especially about the instant custody. She notes that even though they have their differences, remember she called Karen not her friend at the last reunion, she still wants what's best for her. Ashley adds she cried so much after the sentencing. Giselle again stresses that accountability is key here, pointing out it's the 4th DUI.
And Ashley wraps it up by referencing Karen's comments from the police camera footage where she called herself Thomas Jefferson's concubine, highlighting the initials TJ. So this was today's update about Karen Huger's prison release and the RHOP cast reaction. Let's now move on to next up.
Next, we are going to talk about the controversy swirling around former reality star Alexis Bellino. So this all kicked off because of a recent Instagram post she made. It showed her using a tanning bed, getting ready for her wedding to John Janssen. And yes, that's the same John Janssen who used to be with Shannon Bador. Anyway, Alexis posted this picture back on September 29th. She said she was taking extreme measures for the wedding because she doesn't like how spray tans look, and added she hadn't hit a tanning bed in decades. But here's where it got really messy. Her caption? Oh boy. She basically told everyone up front to keep their negative, predictable, and boring comments to themselves, or she'd block them. She even said the tanning bed was all about love. Kind of defensive, right? Well, fans immediately jumped on it. People were not happy, calling her out for promoting something pretty terrible and sending a bad message, especially to younger folks watching her. Someone even pointed out, hey, if you didn't post the picture, people couldn't criticize you for it. Fair point. But the criticism got really serious too. Folks started bringing up major health concerns. One person shared they actually have stage 4 melanoma. Another said they got diagnosed after using tanning beds back in college and urged Alexis to, learn about the risks involved. Really brings home the seriousness of it all. So this was today's update about Alexis Bellino and the tanning bed photo controversy. Let's now move on to the next update.
Next, we are going to talk about Bronwyn Newport's recent insights into the drama surrounding her on The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. So Bronwyn's in her 2nd season, and things are really heating up, especially with co-star Lisa Barlow. She's kind of clarifying the public perception around her recent actions, some past legal issues, and also the criticism leveled at her husband, Todd Bradley. Okay, first up, that whole $4 million necklace lie. Bronwyn admitted, yeah, that was a mistake. She said it immediately gave the other women ammunition and, made them lose trust in her. Her words, I did that to myself. Now, about that feud with Lisa Barlow. Bronwyn mentioned she brought up Lisa's lawsuits on camera really just to turn the tables, after Lisa had apparently gossiped about her. Bronwyn admitted she doesn't exactly feel good about it. She also illuminated this sealed legal matter from her past, explaining that the cast is trying to twist her simply hiring an attorney into something negative, almost like she was a criminal. And this is despite them knowing she can't talk about the details because it was sealed. She described that tactic as feeling kind of dark. Then there's the criticism about her husband, Todd, who's 66. Fans and Lisa Barlow saying he's patronizing. Bronwyn clarifies she hears comments like, that was embarrassing, as Todd just being supportive and wanting the best for her. Todd did admit his comments come across harsh, meaning, he could probably speak to her differently. He's actually stepping back from group events now because his feelings about the women were, pretty negative. Bronwyn wants her friendships with the women to be separate from his feelings, though.
And just to illustrate how intense reality life is, she shared how getting pulled over for not having current registration on a new car immediately resulted in a tip being sent to a blogger. It really demonstrates how the streets are really talking. So this was today's update about Bronwyn Newport's latest drama and reflections on RHOSLC. Let's now move on to next update. Next, we are going to talk about the latest drama on The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Okay, so this episode really centers on Lisa Barlow trying, maybe a bit defensively, to shut down all these ongoing lawsuit rumors. Her plan? A skeet shooting afternoon followed by a luncheon. But, it kind of spiraled fast into brand new confrontations and, also really illuminated some personal struggles a few cast members are dealing with. Lisa's big move at the luncheon was displaying her legal cases, all stamped dismissed, right there on easels. She wanted everyone to see the suits were no big deal, just part of doing business with her kind of clientele. Yep, that didn't quite work. Angie Katzenevas immediately jumped in, questioning what exactly Lisa thought this proved. And then Angie dropped some pretty explosive stuff claiming Lisa used another guy's credit card, that he paid for her car and a home remodel, and that Lisa apparently owes him around $118,000. Lisa shot back hard, calling it all a fanciful tale. Things just escalated from there. Lisa tried to pivot, accusing Bronwyn Newport of being obsessed with her after Bronwyn supposedly got caught with jewelry she couldn't afford. That brought Whitney Rose into the mix, questioning why Lisa's always digging up dirt on others like Whitney's failed business, while Lisa herself is dealing with actual legal papers. It really peaked when Lisa just yelled "redhead" at Whitney. Whitney fired back, calling Lisa scared, and then just stormed right out. Oh, and Meredith Marks tried to step in for Lisa, but Whitney called her out instantly for not defending Lisa during that whole camping trip mess, which, yeah, the tapes actually back up.
But beyond all that luncheon drama, the episode also brought some heavy emotional stuff to life. We see Bronwyn navigating her dad's worsening Alzheimer's. He's in memory care now. Plus the stress of her mom living with her. And her mom wasn't making it easy, making some tough comments about Bronwyn's past and throwing shade about her partner Todd 2.0's age and finances. At the same time, Angie's exploring her Greek roots, connecting with her dad's history and even applying for Greek citizenship, though apparently her daughter Electra isn't exactly embracing it. So this was today's update about that explosive RHOSLC luncheon. Let's now move on to next update.
Next, we are going to talk about the fallout from the latest The Real Housewives of Miami episode, where cast members are fiercely divided over whether Marysol Patton is a master manipulator. Okay, so things are really heating up. We've got Stephanie Chauget, Adriana Demora, and Marysol Patton locked in this pretty vicious feud, you know? And it all seems to stem from that whole wretched versus ratchet drama. Stephanie Chauget did not hold back at all. She flat out called Marysol dirty and a master manipulator. And her reasoning points straight to that incident. Remember when Marysol advised Adriana Demora to use the word wretched after Adriana was thinking about calling Kiki Barth ratchet? Well, the accusation is that Marysol then kind of threw that advice back in Adriana's face later on. Stephanie basically agreed with Kiki that this whole move was dirty. She characterized it as Marysol giving someone a plan, only to then become the mastermind who throws them under the bus. Stephanie even confessed she believes Marysol has been manipulating Alexia Napola all along. Now, Marysol, for her part, she did admit that advising Adriana was selfish and probably the wrong thing to do, but she strongly denies being some kind of master manipulator. She actually corrected the idea that the drama came back to bite her, saying it came back to bite Adriana in the ass. She feels Adriana's hate for her just keeps her up at night. Adriana, though, she's hitting back, accusing Marysol of brewing things in the darkness of her soul with her cauldron, putting the poison out, suggesting Marysol works in subtle ways. But others are jumping to Marysol's defense. Larsa Pippen argued that Marysol just shows her hand and basically realized Adriana wasn't a friend worth helping anymore.
And separately, Alexia Napola thinks Adriana might just be jealous, declaring that Adriana tends to come after you when you're shining and you're happy.
So it's a lot, and it looks like we're gonna get more answers soon because the 3-part Real Housewives of Miami Season 7 reunion starts this Thursday, October 2. So this was today's update about the Real Housewives of Miami drama. Let's now move on to the next update.
Next, we are going to talk about that absolutely explosive feud continuing off-screen between the Real Housewives of Miami stars Adriana Demora and Marysol Patton. So Adriana's been explaining why she went there, calling Marysol old and miserable and even wretched during that intense Season 7 finale. She's basically saying, hey, it was just giving Marysol a taste of her own medicine, right? Adriana claims Marysol actually started it way back in the first episode with what she called demeaning and ageist comments. But it doesn't stop there, oh no. Adriana feels like Marysol is actively trying to sabotage her, even trying to ice her out of the show. She's accusing Marysol of aggressively, refusing to let me participate in scenes. Just wow. And then there's that whole private investigator thing that keeps coming up. Remember, Dr. Nicole Martin brought it up last season. Well, when asked if she thinks Marysol's hired a PI for her, Adriana didn't hesitate. She just said, I'm sure she has already. It really sets the scene for what sounds like a very dramatic 3-part reunion special, doesn't it? It all kicks off Thursday, October 2nd.